What is up, guys? This is TCG Sam here, and in today's video I'm coming at you guys with an updated Invoked Shaddoll deck profile without any Dogmatikas, which I'm going to explain a little later on. But before we begin, I just want to ask you guys to please remember, if you haven't already, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, because it really helps keep me motivated to keep posting more videos like this, and it really helps the channel out. But yeah, with that being said, let's just hop straight into it. So I said I wasn't playing any Dogmatikas, and the real reason for that is, I don't have them, but I'll show you what cards you can replace if you actually do have the Dogmatika engine. But starting off with the deck, obviously triple aleister, the best normal summon in this deck. Just a note, this deck didn't get touched at all by the ban list, so this deck just exponentially got better because everything else got worse. And aleister is still a very, very powerful card that gets you powerful fusions, as well as offers you a lot of good follow-up, which is good. For the Shaddoll package, triple Wendy, I think this is mandatory at 3. I only play 2 Schemata, and that's going to seem a little weird. The reason is, I actually don't want to be drawing too many Shaddolls. I kind of replaced the 3rd Schemata with one more utility Shaddoll, just so I have a little more utility with the Shaddoll package, because Schemata essentially is just any Shaddoll card, right? If I'm able to just get more utility, then Schemata essentially it gets more flexibility, and Schemata pretty much becomes like any other Shaddoll, which is really, really good. Double Hedgehog, I like too, because you sometimes want to be summoning one off of Wendy to guarantee yourself a Schism or a Shaddoll incarnation for a follow-up. So that's really, really good. I think that's it for the multiple Shaddolls. For the one-ofs, there's a lot of them. One Dragon, obviously destroy spell and traps. Beast is very good to set off a Wendy. It's good to send for a draw when you're trying to dig for something. Aerial, I consider bumping this up to 2, but for now I'm leaving it at 1. Unless we see a huge resurgence in Sky Strikers and Drytrons, then I might consider playing 2, because this graveyard effect obviously very, very good. And its flip effect is also really, really good. I just don't want to play more of it because I'm kind of tight on space right now. One Genius, I really like this card because it's still good against decks like Tri-Brigade, where you can target the monster that they special summon, like Karass, or they normal summon Kit or whatever. This essentially acts as an imperm on those monsters. I also like this because going second, especially since you have Magical Meltdown to protect your fusion spells, going second, if you send this to the graveyard, it essentially forces out another negate, or your opponent can't respond to it if, for some reason, Meltdown's on the field. But yeah, I really, really like this card. Flip effect, unfortunately, not very good, but the Centigrade effect is quite pretty decent. And finally, I play one Falco. This is the card that I cut the 3rd Schemata for, and the reason for that is because I wanted to have Falco to be able to recur pretty much any Shaddoll, so I have a better grind game, as well as kind of just be able to chump block against OTK decks or whatever, and just like I said, be able to grind better by bringing back any Shaddoll. Pretty much all the Shadolls have very, very good flip effects other than Genius. So yeah, Falco, bringing itself back is a decent follow-up, because if you use it for a fusion summon, because if the fusion monster dies, you can just bring it back, and that's really, really good as well. That's it for the Shaddoll lineup. The only hand trap I play is triple Droll and Lockbird. I think this format, Droll and Lockbird, is going to be very, very important against decks like Sky Strikers, which I expect to see a resurgence of. Drytrons is really good, which is one of the best combo decks right now. And just against other decks, it's always decent, I would say. It may not be a complete blowout against some decks, but against other decks, I would say it's usually decent. It should prevent, it should essentially trade, quote unquote, with one card in their hand if they have Search card plus Desires, for example. Desires or Prosperity, I mean. You just Droll after the first one, and then they can't activate the second one, and essentially that kind of trades 1 for 1 with that. Also, being Wind is really important for Raijin in the extract, because Raijin is also a really, really good card. For the spells, there's a lot of them. The spells are pretty much the best part of this deck. Triple Shaddoll Fusion, triple El Shaddoll Fusion. Very standard. I know people are cutting down El Shaddoll Fusion, but I don't agree with that. El Shaddoll Fusion is very, very powerful. Allows you to do a lot of shenanigans in the battle phase. On your opponent's turn, this acts essentially as other Schisms, because it acts as disruption to fusion summon cards like Apclone and Winda on your opponent's turn, or even Construct. That's just really, really good still. And of course, you want to maximize all the fusion spells, as many fusion spells as possible, because if you draw too many Shaddolls without them, then of course they're bricks. Triple Super Poly, this is also kind of my going second card. It's really good against decks like Drytron, because you gotta make your Construct and start your engine while taking out their Herald of Ultimateness. It's also decent with the Invoked package, because if your opponent has light monsters on the field, and you start with normal summon aleister, and you can use Super Poly to fuse away the aleister in one of your opponent's monsters, if they have the right attribute, which is also really, really powerful as well. Super Polymerization, just really, really good this format, I think. Of course, your opponent can't respond to it, so essentially can break boards as well while establishing your own. It's just a super, super good card in this deck, and definitely should be a 3 of. Next, I won't play 2 Invocation. I think I would probably play 3 if I had a third one. Just because you, like I said, you want to maximize the number of fusion spells that you want to play. But 2 is definitely sufficient, in my opinion. Like I said, it can act as a fusion spell, which is really, really good. And you definitely want the second one to be able to search off of your aleister if you do get access. If you do end up being forced to use the first one to fuse away the shaddolls in your hand. Next is kind of like a pseudo going second card, and I'm going to explain why. Not only does it add like consistency to your deck, but Magical Meltdown essentially forces your opponent to negate it if they have like hard negates on the board. Cards that negate activations, I mean like Savage or whatever. Because if Meltdown resolves, every fusion spell you play is going to be protected by Meltdown, and every time you summon a fusion monster, the ensuing chain link on the summon, your opponent's not going to be able to respond to it. So if you summon App Clone and send like a Shaddolls Genius, that essentially takes out 2 negates from your opponent and starts your own engine, which is just absolutely insane. In addition to adding aleister, of course. But like the fact that the protection effect is just so good. It prevents like Ghost Spell on your invocation as well. Like there's just so many cards that this card prevents. It protects all your fusion spells going second, which you can use to establish your board and break your opponent's board. And of course it adds consistency to your deck. So I kind of consider this a pseudo going second card. And hopefully you guys kind of see like my logic why. But yeah, this is obviously a really, really good package. Terraforming, sometimes combo players will have to negate terraforming. Because if they don't know if you're playing Mystic Mine or not, if they don't have an out to Mystic Mine, then they just kind of straight up lose, obviously. And so they might have to like Astral Terraforming right away, which can be good for you. But yeah, Terraforming just adds the extra consistency to the deck. You could play Mystic Mine if you want, but I would never stoop that low. But yeah, anyways, next spell, Foolish Burial, obviously really good. Every single Shaddolls card. And then like, this is the last 3 flex spots in the deck. I decided to go with Cosmic. I like Cosmic this format because I expect like a resurgence of Sky Striker, Salamangreats, and those are like kind of decently back row heavy decks, as well as it outs a card like Mystic Mine, which I assume people are going to be playing more because like I expect more strikers. But of course, Cosmic Cyclone is just decent in general. In Invoked, because it's a spell card that like at worst case scenario you can discard to trade with the card like Engage, because like I just expect to see a lot more spells this format. And speaking of seeing more spells, I also expect to be able to play more cards like Imperial Order and Anti-Spell, even main deck. And like you know how important the spells are in this deck, so like you absolutely must have that out to those cards. And Cosmic Cyclone I just think fulfills like all those roles really, really well. It's always good to have like back row removal in the deck, but if the format becomes more combo heavy, I definitely replace these 3 with maybe cards like Nibiru, or maybe Ash Blossom or the Gamma package or whatever, just to get a few more hand traps. But for now, I think we're kind of in like gonna be sort of a slower format because with more like mid-range / control decks in the mix. That's it for the spells. For the traps, I just played the 3 Shaddoll traps. These 2 are pretty standard. Shaddoll Schism, obviously really, really powerful card. Shaddoll Incarnation, I think you only need 1 because by the time you're banishing it, you only banish it like when you absolutely must like disrupt your opponent on their turn, or like if you're trying to go for a game or something by like flipping up your dragon to flip something. I just think you can keep recurring it from your graveyard if you really do need to use it multiple times. Finally, Shaddoll Core. This is the 39th card, the 40th card I mean. I decided to put in Shaddoll Core just to test it. In theory, it's really, really good if you're able to send, if you're able to like kind of send it off Construct and like and have like a Squamata send a copy like Shaddolls Fusion or something. You don't have to link off your Construct then, which is kind of huge because Construct in and of itself can already kind of out some boards because of its effect. But also if your opponent has like Graveyard Disruption or something like Call by the Grave or whatever, you really don't want to be losing to that by linking off your Construct. So Shaddoll Core, pretty decent, I think. Obviously can act as like any fusion material as well. It just helps your grind game as well, which I really, really like because I expect, like I said, a lot of mid-range / control decks to be in the format. So that's why I wanted a really, really good grind game. Yeah, that's it for the main deck. 40 cards. I would say quite consistent, obviously, because you have the Invoke package. It's also really powerful. I tried to maximize as many fusion spells as I could play aside from the Invocation. But yeah, 40 cards in the main. For the extra deck, the Invoked package, Mechaba, Caliga, Raijin, Agoides. So these, I would say, like, these 3 are pretty mandatory. Mechaba, obviously, for the 1-card combo. Agoides for, like, a follow-up play once you go through some fusions. So, like, this is your turn 2 aleister play because it outs a monster, and then it becomes really, really big. And then if you don't kill them still, it outs a monster every single turn, which is good. Caliga is really, really good because your Shaddolls, most of them are dark anyways, and this is a really, really powerful floodgate that if your opponent doesn't have an out to, like, you should just auto-win, especially if you back this up with, like, a window or something. Your opponent's just not winning if they don't have an out to that. And, of course, you can protect it with cards like aleister as well, which is really nice. I do play Raijin in the extra deck, and that's because of the popularity of Droll and Lockbird. I suspect that Droll and Lockbird's gonna be really prevalent this format. And plus, we play Droll in our deck, so like if we Droll our opponent turn 1, turn 2, this can be really good to kind of force out his disruption or just beat over a monster which doesn't really have that much defense. It's also a really good disruption as well. So definitely would play Raijin. Though 4 invoked monsters definitely more than enough. I think if you're resolving aleister 4 times, like, you should be winning the game already. For the Shaddoll monsters, triple construct. I debated cutting down construct to 2 because I wanted space to like try other Shaddoll fusions like Shaddoll Krista or Shaddoll Shekinaga, but I just figured like triple constructs is way too important. Double Apcalone, double Winda. I think it's a very standard Shaddoll lineup. I don't play any of the other attributes, even though we play core. I just don't think there's enough reason to play them in the extra deck because I used to play Shekinaga when Zoos were around, but I suspect that Zoos won't be that prevalent this format. So taking it out for my extra deck for like a Schism or Super Poly target, like, I just took it out of my extra deck and decided just to play something else instead. But there's definitely one flex slot in the extra deck I'll show you guys later that you can substitute for anything that you want. But I think these 7 Shaddoll monsters are quite mandatory, especially double Apcalone. I suspect Dogmatikas can be more popular too, and if they try to resolve Maximus against you, you want to be sending one of the Apcalones and then like a random fusion monster for like to make Algoides or something. And then you want the other one in your extra deck, of course. Apcalone is just a super powerful card. For the Link monsters, 1 Gravity, 1 Magistus Moon Maiden. This is for like the aleister to give a free light, or like you can normal summon any of your level 4 spellcaster Shaddolls, turn it into this so you have a light monster for construct. Gravity Controller, obviously super good to link off your Shaddoll fusions to add back whatever you send to the grave. 1 Verte Anaconda. This card is like more access to fusion spells if you're running out, or if you need to make a big play with like Super Poly to out your opponent's board. Verte Anaconda is very powerful for that. And then finally, the 15th card, the flex slot. I'm testing out Aleister, the Invoker of Madness, and the reason I'm doing that is because I figured if I ever use Invocation for like in like my hand to fuse away the regular Shaddolls, I want to be able to 1, have access to another Aleister name just in case I want to make an invoked fusion, and 2, I want to be able to search out like my last invocation as well, just in case like my Aleisters are kind of like stranded or I'm out of Aleisters or whatever. You can also discard Shaddoll effects and Shaddoll cards and they get their effects because this isn't a cost. So like I just figured I want to try this out. You guys definitely don't have to play this. You can play any like 15th card that you want, be it like Boros or Dragon or whatever. You could also play another fusion target like maybe Grista or Shekinaga, or a Super Poly target like Starving Venom or Dragostapelia. I just feel like I quite like this card because I figured your Super Poly coverage is already really good with the Invoked engine, considering we have Wind, Light, and Dark as Super Poly targets, and then here we have Light and Dark as Super Poly targets, so like I figured those are like the most popular attributes anyways. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below of this deck profile. I do think this is going to be one of the stronger decks this format because it wasn't touched and everything else was hit. It's very consistent, and it's just super powerful. And like, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I really do think this deck is going to be super good this format. Very consistent, like I said. One last note before we go. I did mention that if you have the Dogmatika card, so the standard Dogmatika engine being 3 Nadirs, 1 Ecclesia, 1 Fleur de Lis, and 1 Punishment, you can definitely just replace like the Cosmics and the Drolls, I guess, and then like maybe you can main deck keep like one of the Cosmics in place of like Shaddoll Core or something. If you do have the Dogmatika engine, it's a slightly bigger, of course. If it's 7 cards with a Maximus, then yeah, take out the Shaddoll Core. That unfortunately with that package, it doesn't allow you to play that many going second cards like Cosmic or Droll. But I do like it because it adds a lot of consistency and power to the deck. But like I said, I would play it if I had the package. But since I don't, this is my Invoked Shaddoll build. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. But yeah, with that being said, one last thing, if you haven't already checked it out, I am being sponsored by Your Playmat, who sent me these 6 sleeves. If you guys haven't seen the sleeves, I showed them off in my Virtual World videos, which you can check out on my channel. I also have an affiliate link in the description below where you can get 10% off any custom playmat sleeves, mousepad from yourplaymat.com, and it also helps support the channel. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to check it out. But yeah, with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.